Electra does a reading session of new compositions every 2 years, and the purpose of it is not for us to find new scores to sing in concert, although sometimes that does happen. It's really meant to be an interactive experience where I'm learning about 4 composers, most of whom I don't know. I'm finding out how they think, what their creativity is, what their skill level is, and they're spending an evening with a women's choir listening to the sounds and hopefully being encouraged to write for women's choir in the future. Some of them may have never written for choir at all. Some of them may have mixed choir repertoire and they may not have written for women. So that's part of it.
For composers, it's very important that we have the opportunity to hear our works and to experiment and to explore new sounds and new ideas. And it gives us a real sense of what we're able to do as composers with an ensemble that we don't get to work with on a regular basis.
And it's so great to have a really strong ensemble read your work because you get a good idea of what in your writing is successful and what kinds of changes you might need to make. So it's a really great way to receive feedback on your new compositions.
What's happening in the second half of the piece with these really short ideas, it's supposed to be sort of like this interaction, the way the lines come together and people will see different things or different shapes.
Like especially I think choral music, there's something about it. It's and being singers, there's a whole level of emotion and other things attached to it. So coming to something like this, you get to have the choir breathe life into your music in an entirely new way.
I was extremely impressed with Electra's tone. I have a lot of dissonances in my piece and their tone was just crystal clear. They pronounced everything perfectly and they just had this engagement with the piece.
This year we've commissioned Vancouver-based composer Kathleen Allen to write a piece for us, so I invited her along tonight because I knew that she would speak the language of the composers in a way that I don't. She is a composer and a conductor, so she bridges the gap, and it was fantastic to have her with us this year.
I don't know if that was the effect you were going to for, so you might need to write legato or...
This kind of experience is so valuable to a young composer or a composer who's early in their career. I wish I had had more of it when I was at this stage because getting honest feedback in the developmental stages of a piece is something you don't get the chance to do very often. Composers seem to be expected to go from being in school and being a student to working as a professional composer, and it's hard to make that bridge when you have a lot of skills and a lot of talent and you're refining those things into a professional career. Morna has a special knack for working with composers in that she's really kind and encouraging but gives really detailed and valuable feedback. So to be able to put that feedback into practice with the instrument of Electra at your disposal immediately is pretty cool.
The purpose is for me to spend an evening with 4 composers, people who are curious about writing for women's choir. I want them to spend an evening listening to what a women's choir sounds like. I want my women to experience working with composers up close. And the result is beautiful, fruitful, fun, and it's something that I just love doing. I think it's really important. Many, many good composers write for mixed choir, but they've never thought about writing for women's choir. I'm trying to populate that group of composers that's going to write for women's choir.